How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. I gotta adjust my lighting. Stand by. There it goes. Not that that made too big of a difference, but since I do it all here, I do the lighting, I do the sound, I do the music. Well, Ryan Gosher does the music, I just play the music. We are going to talk today about well, you know what, I just got home. I gave a lecture today at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and my good friend Patricia, who I worked with at the United Nations when I was in the FBI, and she is an officer and also a professor at John Jay College. She's also an officer at the UN, and so I went and gave a course on leadership. which I've talked about before on here. But we're also going to talk about leadership in the government in Hollywood and all this nastiness that's going on, and Jane Fonda and John McCain and all these people and where they should go and get the heck out of here. Let's get started right now. Nope, not yet. Hold on. Where is it? There it is. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right, now I'm getting it figured out. All right, so I got a couple articles over here that I'm going to bring up. And we're going to talk about, I already know this is the way it's going to go in today's show. Most likely on Twitter, there'll be a couple trolls that'll pop up. But I can tell by the tweet that I put out about John McCain today that it's about 99% of the people in this country cannot stand this guy. And at least on the conservative side. And then every once in a while you'll have somebody pop up and say he's a war hero, shouldn't talk about him that way, you know, say it, you know, whatever, you know, don't listen to him, John McCain. But overall, the majority, I'm still going through all these tweets. All these people are ready for John McCain. That's what I'm doing right now, if you're wondering what I'm doing while I'm talking. They are just ready for John McCain to go away. He's divisive. He doesn't do anything for this country. He is not a listen, I've said this before. You can be a veteran. In fact, I just had this conversation with somebody. I'm shocked at a lot of times, and I'd love to get feedback from veterans on this, okay? If you're a veteran and you are now in the private sector, I'd like to know. You can either tweet me at jgilliam_seal. If you're watching on Facebook, you can do a direct message to me there. If you do it on the comment section, I may not catch it, okay? But, or you can email me at jonathan@jonathantgilliam.com. You got one of three ways you can get a hold of me. You can also do it on here on the chat sessions. I may or may not see it. How many people out there that are veterans have gone on to the private sector and had veterans as bosses that turned out to be absolutely worthless? Now, I know I've had veterans that, and I'd like to think I'm a great leader when it comes to time for me to lead. I'm also a great subordinate person when I'm not in that position of leadership. And I've had, I can't say Joe's last name, but in the Bureau, my good buddy Joe is as Army as they can be. He wears a suit and and combat boots. The guy is Army through and through, this guy. And I've had other people that I've worked with that are former SEALs, former Marines. Marines are great, that are amazing leaders in the private sector. I'm sure that you all have had that if you're a veteran. However, I have had some major blue flamers, and those that you don't know what blue flamer stands for in the military, that's what we call a buddy effer. Instead of, you know, you can't say the curse word out loud, so you call somebody a blue flamer, or a blue falcon or a blue flame or whatever you want to call it. So I've worked for several veterans, including Jeff Ringel, who I've talked about on this show before, Jim Gagliano, the guy that's on CNN. Both of those guys are blue flamers. They're blue falcons, whatever you want to call them. And I've seen them screw over not just me, but other veterans as well. But then I talked to a couple other people that have been in positions like this, and it is amazing. Not just that they suffer under the leadership in the civilian world of other veterans, but how is this becoming a repetitive thing where veterans who have served honorably and done some amazing things step into the civilian world, and not only are they failures at leading in a much simpler capacity, they don't mentor people, they don't cultivate the leader in their workers, they crap all over people. I mean, how does this happen? And it could be Marines, it could be Army, Navy, Air Force, Coast Guard, any of them. It could be officers enlisted. They get out and they go into civilian population, and they just literally crap all over people, and they destroy the careers of other veterans. I've seen it. I've suffered from it myself. I just find this absolutely amazing. So if you're a veteran and you've had this happen to me, feel free. Either direct message me on Twitter, or you can do a tweet. You can direct message me on Facebook. You can go to Jonathan at jonathantgilliam.com. This is something that, I thought that I maybe just was dealt a bad hand of cards, and I got bad leaders that were veterans. But I'm starting to see that this isn't the norm, but it's more common than I would like to see, because ultimately this hurts all veterans when we go into the civilian sector and we want to get jobs. It really does. Am I the only person that coffee makes me tired? Am I the only person like that? Am I weird like that? Anyway, but I'm really shocked. And after having a conversation that I just had with somebody a little while ago about a veteran that I respect and came from not the SEAL teams, but another group that I highly respect, and how this individual just has terrible leadership skills and has just destroyed people's careers. And I don't get it. I can't figure this out. So if you're a veteran and you've suffered from this, help me understand this, because I'm scratching my head, having just taught a course on leadership, a lecture at John Jay College of Criminal Justice, and then I have a conversation with a veteran that I know, and it was exactly opposite of what I just taught. So interesting. But when we look at John McCain, this is a perfect example of this. John McCain, okay, I'm going to say something that it may bother some people. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We have to be careful how we use this word hero. We use the word hero and elite so nonchalantly, and we place that name or those titles upon people quite often when, listen, anybody who raises the right hand and in this day and age and says, I support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that's a heroic act. That when somebody gives of themselves and goes through SEAL training or boot camp or officer candidate school or flight training, and they land a freaking plane on a ship, it's basically a controlled crash. Those are very heroic acts. Those are heroic stances. Those are heroic measures to very heroic careers, or at least times in their careers in the military and in service of their country and their people, the citizenry. And I'm not taking away from that at all. What's interesting about John McCain, though, if John McCain hadn't been shot down, okay, John McCain is a war veteran. That's heroic. John McCain flew into battle. That's heroic. I guess what I'm trying to figure out here is where do we draw the line from heroic actions and a heroic person? There is a difference. I remember, I wish I knew this whole story. I saw it in passing on, I think it was War Stories with Oliver North, where some guy got the Medal of Honor and was soon kicked out of the military. I don't know if he got a dishonorable discharge or not, but basically he was not well liked at all. I don't remember the story of who this guy is, so if anybody knows this story, let me know. He was not well liked. He was ostracized by his teammates because he was, from what this show talked about, he was just an absolute jerk and terror to be around. The guy didn't get along with anybody. People didn't get along with him, and he was always a problem. And somehow, some way, he ends up doing this in a, when it was time to rise to the occasion. This guy rose to the occasion and did this amazingly heroic thing. He was in a bomber, is all I can remember about the story. It was right before I went to bed, and I only got part of this story. So if you know what I'm talking about, let me know. And he, this guy did some amazingly heroic things that night in that bomber, and saved lives, and threw his own life into the mix without a care in the world, and did all these amazing things. Anyway, he gets the Medal of Honor, and then he gets himself into more trouble. Why? Because he wasn't a heroic person. He did a heroic act. And so this is where listen, I'm not trying to say John McCain is one way or the other. I'm posing the question from a veteran standpoint. People have said, you're a hero, okay? I don't look at myself as a hero. I look at myself as somebody who has his mind screwed on right, where he looks and says, okay, service is why I'm here on this earth, dedication to my country, this is where my skill set lies, and in doing this show every night, and giving of myself in this way now to make sure that the people are informed of the truth. Maybe these are heroic acts. I don't know if they're even heroic acts, but I definitely have the heart of a servant, and I care about this country. And as well as the majority of people who go in the military, even this guy that was on this bomber. But this guy in particular, and it's killing me. I'm going to have to research who this guy was. Mark Chambers, is that the guy I'm talking about that you're saying? I don't know. Anyway, so this guy was not a heroic person. He did a heroic act. And John McCain did a heroic thing. He flew in the battle, he flew in the combat, he served admirably, and then when he was shot down, he suffered in an immense way that the majority of us will never know. And that's a heroic thing. I don't know, though, from that point forward to now, if John McCain was a heroic person who later became a narcissistic, almost psychopathic type person, or was he always that way? I don't know. So I tend to put the acts that he performed in Vietnam to the side, because if John McCain was a retired old individual who mentored people and went about his day and offered what he could to the world, I would say, yeah, that guy did a heroic act. He has a heroic spirit. But the politician that John McCain has been a very destructive individual. He's a rhino. He's a liar about being a conservative. He's a bully. And I'm going to give you an example of what I'm talking about, where he literally craps all over the conservatives in this country, and our president, for some strange reason, he just refuses to work with this president. Now, John McCain's also the guy that went over and met in Syria with what turned out to be ISIS leaders, the rebels, quote unquote, that he was helping to supply weapons to. John McCain has done a lot of stuff that totally blew up in the country's face. He's not stood for veterans, and then he goes and does and says things like this.
And led the 3/4 of a century to abandon the ideals we have advanced around the globe, to refuse the obligations of international leadership and our duty to remain the last best hope of Earth for the sake of some half-baked, spurious nationalism cooked up by people who would rather find scapegoats than solve problems.
So half-baked. So now patriotism, according to John McCain, is a half-baked, nonsensical idea, and that we should be endowed to the world to do what's best for the world and to the globe. And I personally don't feel that way. I don't see where, and like last night, I got a bunch of people coming at me because of Colin Kaepernick and what I said about him. Why is nationalism and love of nation bad? I understand what happened with Hitler. I understand what has happened with different communist leaders and fascist leaders. But the people that they preyed upon were not free people. And love of their country had to do more with culture than the Constitution that they lived under. Most of the people that you would talk to that are patriots and just love this country, their affection for this nation is rooted in the Constitution and rooted in the freedoms that are provided. Our love of nation isn't built upon our ability to crush other countries. Our love of nation is not built upon a hatred of certain races or peoples that we can condemn and crush. Our national patriotism is not bound by color or religion or race or gender or sexuality. It's bound by a love of the freedom and the things that this country stands for. And I don't understand. I mean, I think I know, but I don't understand how people can confuse love of nation, of this country, of the freedoms that it provides for us, how they can confuse that with the lies and the nationalistic pride that was spread by fascist leaders such as Hitler or Stalin or Lenin and people like this, where they used countries that were basically had failed. The countries had failed. There was an extreme, like you see in Venezuela, for instance, an extremely rich population and then an extremely poor population with no middle class. And they basically talked about love and of the country and how the people that are poor must rise and take back this great country from the rich and so on and so forth, in which they just pride upon the people to overthrow the rich and powerful so that those fascist dictators could then step into place and take over. That is totally different. This country and all our problems that we have in this country, and we have a lot of problems, we aren't a failing country. We are a country still owned by the middle class. And the middle class are neither the poorest nor are they the richest. They are the people that basically the bloodstream of this country that make the country work. And I don't see personally any problems with love of this country as compared to the Germans in World War II and that nationalism that was spurned on by Hitler. I don't see any problem with that. So I can't understand why John McCain, somebody who did these valiant things in Vietnam and comes from a line of military leaders, I can't understand how that man went from that to what we just saw a second ago. And that's what led me to posing the question, can you do heroic acts without being a heroic person? Because the person I see now in John McCain is not a heroic individual. I see a narcissist who's literally on death's doorstep, but is so addicted to the attention that a narcissist craves. That's the primary and secondary energy sources, the secondary being their families. I wouldn't be surprised if he treats his family bad most of the time and good some of the times. That's the way a narcissist will do it. And they'll get their primary source of energy from the love or hatred of the people around, of the society around them. And John McCain, as fast as he's dying, is burning his bridge with the constituents that stood behind him and supported him based on his heroic deeds in Vietnam, largely in part based on that. For years and years, for 30-some years, these people have been supporting him in one way, shape, or another. And so I'm a little distraught by that, because as the people attack me on Twitter yesterday, and they see that I have a shaved head and a goatee, and they'll come on and say you're a white supremacist, not even ever studying or doing their due diligence of who I am and what I stand for. They don't do that type of nonsense. They'll just come at me. And what's funny is they typically are saying you're a racist and you're blah blah blah, you're white supremacist. Never listening to what I have to say, not looking at my resume or my career, and just making a snap judgment based on the color of my skin, the fact that I don't have any hair. They are doing exactly what they accuse others of doing, like this weirdo Tamika Mallory, who I had that incident on a radio show one day. Thanks to Ann Elizabeth, I was notified that she got kicked off of an airplane, American Airlines, and then they had some kind of press conference, which I haven't even had time, Ann, to look into this, but I can't imagine, and I'm saying this sarcastically, that Tamika Mallory's big mouth got her kicked off of an airplane and then said that the pilot was a racist because he's white. This is the type of person that does not have a realistic understanding of the person that they are. They see themselves in a heroic manner. She literally believes that all white people are racist, and that black people can't be racist, that black people are powerful and should be able to do whatever. That's the way this woman, girl, lives, and that's the way she treats other people. That's why I walked out of the Lisa Evers show and severed my relationship with Lisa Evers. I haven't talked to her since that day, which is profoundly hard on me because I really did like Lisa Evers and respected her greatly, but I'm not going to be anybody's punching bag, which she put me in a very awkward position with the worst of the worst that day. Never have gotten an apology for that, by the way. So getting back to John McCain, when John McCain's putting himself into a position when he's on death's doorstep, and he's putting himself in a position in a community with people like the Tamika Mallorys, the Linda Sarsours, the jihadists that lives in and around New York, I'm torn because I can't say that John McCain he did some heroic acts, but again, I think we use this word way too leniently. And I think it just points out narcissistic behavior to me. Somebody who just has to have energy, can't have enough of it. Even when he's dying of brain cancer from a very profound type of cancer, a very lethal type of cancer. He is going to die from this cancer. When is it time, John McCain, for you to shut your mouth, salute the flag, and go and be with your family? Because you're not doing the country any favors. And it'd be better for you to step out now and at least be remembered for the things that you did back in Vietnam before you stick your foot so far down your own mouth that you literally die with your shoe tongue and laces sticking out of your throat, and people saying, forget you, John McCain, forget you, forget what you did in Vietnam, we don't care, we're glad that you're gone. I don't want it to get to that point, but he's pushing it. By doing things like this, he's pushing it to that point where it's going to get to that point where, he'll die. They'll try to do some big funeral and nobody will show up to it except for the people that, are snowed by this whole thing. You do a heroic act then you must be a hero now. That is just not the case. Like I was talking to earlier about leadership, when it comes to veterans who get out of the military and then they crap all over veterans when they work under them, they don't do things to cultivate the leadership potential of civilians that work for them, and they should know this stuff. Just like those people, maybe they were a great leader in the military, they get out and they're a horrible leader. It's the same thing with people like John McCain who do heroic acts back then, and they get out and then they falter, they fail. So I think it's time everybody just lets John McCain know. He's on Twitter. Let him know he needs to go. Not that John McCain would even listen to this, because I believe he's a narcissist. Looks like Facebook might be interrupted here. Let me see. Well, I sure hope not. That'd be 2 days in a row. Let's see here. Is Facebook frozen? Somebody let me know. Nope, there it goes. It looks like it was freezing. Is it freezing? Let me know over on Facebook. Broadcast interrupted. Come on now. There you go. This is weird. All right. Seems like 2 days in a row now we're having problems with Facebook. Stand by. 1 second. Stand by. Still says that I'm live. Doop, 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 doop. Stand by 1 second, folks. 2 days in a row. They're not going to win. We're not going to let them. 2 days in a row. Okay, now we're back. We're not going to let them. Now we're back. We are back on now. Okay, good. All right. So there you go. And we're good on Twitter. Okay, so let's make a transition now. I know I can keep talking about John McCain. I can go on and on about him, but I think it's good for us to recognize that this is just another example of why we need term limits and why we just can't assume, and I'm a veteran, and I preach hiring veterans all the time, but we can't assume because somebody's a veteran that they're going to be a great leader, and you can't assume if you're a veteran that you are a great leader. You need to learn what true leadership is all about, and it's not a clique. Leadership is not a look at that, man. They when my Facebook froze, I lost 100 people just that fast. Man, that's crazy. Hopefully it'll come back up now. So leadership is not something that is a clique. It's not something that we should just veterans should think that they have the handle on it and they are the standard for which everybody should seek. I mean, veterans got to make sure that they understand what leadership is all about first and foremost before they go into the corporate world and end up hurting a business. General David Grange, who I worked with, terrible leader. Another Blue Falcon that just messes people over. Not just me, a lot of other people. I don't know why I keep running into these people, but I do. Maybe it's because I put myself out there so much. Majority of people that I work with, great people. Majority of the veterans, great people. But I've suffered under some incredibly bad leaders that were former, military and did great things in the military. They get out and they just suck. So, we need term limits. John McCain needs to go away and he needs to shut up. He's doing more damage to this country than he could be doing good things. Now, let's make a switch real quick, and I just want to bring up some Jane Fonda stuff. I know that's going to be hard to palate, but let's go ahead and do that, and we'll go to the A block to talk about Jane Fonda. Did I even do the warning order? Let's go to the A block. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. A Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep no more. Get it. I don't even know if I did a warning order. But that was basically the warning order. So now, let me pull up this article. Another person that just needs to go away. Jane Fonda today, this is coming off of FoxNews.com. Okay, first of all, anybody that badmouths this country and does it to the BBC, look, they're doing it bad enough in this country, that's one thing. They go outside of the country and they interview with the BBC or something like that. It's just showing us who these people really are. Jane Fonda made it clear that she is not proud of America. First off, I'm just going to say this, and I wish we still had the 200 people that were on here before. All right? Official statement here. Wait, hold on. Let me do the... Yeah, here it is. This is an official statement from Jonathan T. Gilliam. Jane Fonda, you're an ass, and you need to go away. Honestly, John McCain at least did something in his life that was honorable. Jane Fonda literally got U.S. soldiers killed, probably Vietnamese spies killed. Jane Fonda is a communist that went over and hung out with the Vietnamese, the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese, while we were at war with them, and caused major problems in the war effort, getting our own prisoners killed. Somebody tried to pass a note to her, and this freako, this communist, subversive human being that exists in our and is a part of the same community of the Harvey Weinsteins of the world, who she did exactly, she has repetitively raped this country of its freedom while turning around and having her way with by doing the things and screwing over veterans and the government and our freedoms in general, just like Harvey Weinstein did with the women that were in Hollywood. Jane Fonda is the example, one of the best examples of the generation where subversion in this country, communist subversion started to blossom. Jane Fonda is one of these people, like Yuri Bezmenov talked about, that when they're doing subversion, they're trained and do you think Jane Fonda was just happened to go over to Vietnam and just be a part of all that, and just she did it because she did it because she is a communist, because she is a subversive operative for the globalistic communistic movement. She does her things overtly in society, as did Saul Alinsky, as does Hillary Clinton, as does Barack Obama, as does Bill Ayers from the Weather Underground. All these different people, they work overtly. Susan Rice, Loretta Lynch, Valerie Jarrett, all these people that are part of the Muslim Brotherhood and the communist movement in this country. Jane Fonda was one of those first people. And the only way she's been able to be around probably is because she's rich and has good health care and continues to get plastic surgery and act like she doesn't like to talk about it. She says that she is not proud of this country, but she's proud of... Now, okay, before I tell you what she said she is proud of, for those of you that are sitting out there right now saying, this guy, somebody wrote on one of my tweets, they said, you really like to use that word subversive a lot, don't you? Well, I call things the way they are, right? If somebody is a subversive, I'm going to say they're a subversive. I think Colin Kaepernick is a subversive. He's a communist. He's a communist and a Muslim converted, raised by white parents and claims oppression. He's a liar. John McCain, I don't know what John McCain is, but he sure does help out subversive groups a lot. Jane Fonda, definitely a subversive person. Now, I say that about Hillary Clinton. I say that about Barack Obama. I say that about the majority of people in Hollywood. What do these people say? You can look up their Twitter. You can look up the things that they've said in videos. And what do they talk about? Well, they talk about the same thing that Jane Fonda says right here. She's not proud of America. In other words, she doesn't have nationalistic love. She doesn't have a patriot bone in her body. She doesn't love this country and the Constitution because according to these individuals, that's fascist. If we believe in the Constitution and love our country and are proud of our nation, we're fascists according to these people. Which I love that. People are saying Donald Trump is a fascist because he wants to stop people from kneeling during the anthem, the national anthem in the NFL. I don't know how that would make him a fascist. But when asked what she is proud of, Jane Fonda says she's proud of the resistance, right? If you're watching this show or you don't like me or whatever and you constantly come back and say, man, you sure do use that word subversive or communist a lot, and I don't see anything, and communism isn't a big deal now, and it's dead, it went out with the Cold War, blah, blah, blah. That's all you got to hear. It's the same verbiage. Hillary Clinton used this verbiage. Colin Kaepernick used it. That loudmouth girl, Tamika Mallory, used it. The loudmouth jihadist, Linda Sarsour, uses it. Harvey Weinstein used it. Resistance. The resistance. She's proud of the resistance. Hates the country, proud of the resistance. Dale Earnhardt Jr., who I still have yet to burn his sweatshirt that I have, and I hate that because it's a nice hoodie, but I'm going to burn it and get another hoodie. Dale Jr. says that we should allow a peaceful revolution in this country because if we don't, a violent one is inevitable. Of course, those are the words of JFK talking to the communists. Dale Jr. turns it around and converts that to we should support what Colin Kaepernick is doing and what he supports, which is communism, not the battle between cops and minorities. That's a lie. That's not what Dale Jr. or that's not what Colin Kaepernick is kneeling for. So she says, I'm proud of the people who are turning out in unprecedented numbers and continue over and over and over again to protest what Trump is doing. What Trump is doing. Somebody said yesterday on Twitter that Trump is a fascist. I said, name one thing that he's done that would make him a fascist. The only thing this person could bring up was the NFL and the fact that he is going headstrong against the NFL and the fact that they're not preventing, which they can do, not a violation of your constitutional rights. The NFL is a company, and they can have policy saying you will not disrupt this part of your job by kneeling and dishonoring the flag. Like I said yesterday, President Trump, anybody gets a word to him, I don't care, give me the credit or not, but the president needs to stop the flyovers, stop the all those veterans, active duty veterans or reservists that are in their uniforms holding the flag out there with the football players. Stop that stuff. Stop paying the NFL and giving them money and publicity as though they are patriots. Stop doing that. They don't need our money, our taxpayer money. They don't need our flyovers. They don't need our patriots, our veterans out there. That stuff needs to be taken away from all sporting events. Let everybody suffer because of the NFL. We need to put these owners of these sporting events in check. This isn't the day of the gladiators. We don't have to survive as an outlet of control by the government to be able to go watch a football game or a baseball game or even NASCAR for that matter. I'm a NASCAR fan. I support NASCAR and their values. But these owners need to be put in check. They don't, as you can see, when it comes to concerts, they don't do what they should do when it comes to securing the area. The casinos don't do what they should do to secure the people. The football games and baseball games don't, NFL being tax-free, what is that all about? It's not like they're doing anything for the U.S. Open's another example. makes billions of dollars in 13 days every time they have the U.S. Open here. And what do they do with that money? What? The CEO has like a $90,000 leather couch in their office. Why? You're a nonprofit. People like Jane Fonda, and the fact that she has survived this long, it first of all, it should not surprise you, but it should give you insight as to the reality of what's going on in Hollywood. And I think I want to talk about this, and then I'll close it up for the night because I don't want to keep everybody on here all night. But if you think that Harvey Weinstein is the only one doing this stuff in Hollywood, you're crazy. If you think Jane Fonda is the only communist, admitted communist, not just my words, that hates this country but loves the resistance, if you think she's the only one, you're crazy, okay? Right now, there's never been a better time for conservatives in Hollywood to band together. There's never been a better time for women to stand up and say the behavior of Harvey Weinstein is rampant and point out every single person. Chances are, right now, if you do that, your career is not going to falter. If one person does it, maybe. But if we have, like Reese Witherspoon's coming out and saying she was sexually assaulted at 16 in Hollywood, these people need to come out together and they need to start naming names of all these people. It is rampant in Hollywood. It's rampant in Washington, D.C. It's rampant in Wall Street. And people need to come together and start naming names. These individuals need to be taken down a notch. And there's never been a time. Listen, I'm not going to say Trump has gifted you this because you're liberal. A lot of these people in Hollywood are liberal. But here's the facts. I know you don't want to hear this. But if you stand up to Hollywood the way Trump stood up to the politicians in Washington, D.C., the chances are you, the individuals that band together, you could clean up Hollywood. And you could change the future for yourself and other people. If you say you're a feminist, you should realize that's a communist movement. If you stand for powerful women, I stand with you. I don't stand for feminism because I don't think anybody's a victim in this country anymore. Any group is a victim. There are victims. But I believe that women in this country have proven that they're powerful. And if you want to gain a certain height and you work your butt off, you may very well achieve what you set out to achieve because you live in a free country where you have equal rights now. Same thing with people who have dark skin or brown skin or white skin. Your drive and determination is what will determine your future. If you band together in Hollywood and start pointing everybody out that's done these sexual, rapist, narcissistic, psychopathic things, you're going to make a difference. You're going to learn. It's fun going to battle, especially if you do it together with a team. It's fun. And the conservatives in Hollywood should start doing the same thing. Stand up and start naming names. We don't need another McCarthy, actually probably do, like we had back in the 50s, where he's going after all the communists. But Hollywood, you can do it yourself. Politicians, if you're a politician and you're in Washington, D.C., and you know somebody's a communist, like I know that Mayor de Blasio here in New York City, I don't know how he became a mayor, changed his name 3 times. He is a communist. He worked for the Nicaraguan communists when we were at war with them. He went to Russia on his honeymoon. He was endorsed by the Communist Party of America. His parents were communists. Mayor de Blasio is a communist, and people need to point that out. And the same thing with the rest of these politicians. Point it out. Now, one last thing I want to say here. I'm not even going to go to another block. This group, Fusion GPS, the one that came up with the fake dossier about Trump saying that he had this encounter with prostitutes and all this stuff. These are two guys that left. They describe themselves as a strategic intelligence firm that was started by, where are their names at here? It was two Wall Street Journal reporters. It's led by Glenn Simpson and Peter Frisch, F-R-I-T-S-C-H. They left the Wall Street Journal about a decade ago. It makes me wonder, which it's happened and been proven again and again, there are CIA-trained officers that their day job is to work in media. Their day job is to work in, I don't know, whatever industry that they may need a spy to work in, and so they go and recruit spies. I don't know where these two individuals are from, Glenn Simpson and Peter Frisch, but I can almost guarantee you they have connections to some intelligence agency. And from reading the little bit I've read about them, they function basically as tricksters. Like what they do is, from what I'm understanding here, is they go after people when somebody hires them to go after somebody to cut their proverbial legs out from under them. That's what they do. In the case of President Trump, they went after him to try to discredit him and make him look like he did some things, and then they tried to add, like, we got this information from real intel sources, when the whole thing was completely made up. And by the way, who did they pass that to? How did it get into Congress? Does this guy look familiar right here?
And led the
Yeah, John McCain. That's who they passed that to. So I'm going to look more into this Fusion GPS, or what's it called? Fusion, GPS. They sound like a very dirty group. Very dirty. And they should be discredited, disbanded, and investigated. And if they did do things to discredit the President of the United States, I don't know what law that is, but I don't know. Should be looked into. But that's probably not going to happen, because who do we have at the helm of the FBI now? Thank you, President Trump. One of your big mistakes that you've made so far is putting Christopher Wray in charge of the FBI. Christopher Wray, a guy who's good buddies with Robert Mueller and James Comey and Rod Rosenstein, who's the acting attorney general, because that ghost we call Jeff Sessions, who is nowhere to be found. Jeff Sessions is harder to locate than that security officer from Mandalay Bay. Jeff Sessions is just gone. He's just disappeared. What a worthless attorney general. President Trump made a big mistake putting Christopher Wray, who's good buddies with these other people, into the position of director of the FBI. He just basically surrounded himself now. And he could have brought somebody up through the ranks of the FBI and made them the director, but he didn't do that for whatever reason. I don't know. Somebody says that the dossier was used, this fake dossier was used to get FISA warrants to illegally spy. I don't know if that's true or not. I'd have to look into that. Yeah. All right, that's about it. I'm sorry for the technical difficulty again tonight. I don't know what happened. There's a lot in the news. Let me go back here to go back a page before I get out of here. And if there's anything else I can bring up. Corey Haim was good buddies with Corey Feldman. Corey Haim was the guy from the Lost Boys. Did that stupid dance on Good Morning America. Listen, whatever. I'm not going to criticize him too hard on that stuff. But Corey Haim talked a long time, or has been talking for a long time, about pedophilia in Hollywood. He was on The View one time with Barbara Walters, who's no freaking, you want to talk about a globalist, an establishment person, somebody who is an insider in all this fake Hollywood and fake media. Barbara Walters was interviewing Corey Haim, and Corey Haim was bringing up this stuff on The View in 2013, I believe it was, and she shut him down. She wouldn't let him talk anymore about it. That's what these people do. They protect each other. That's about it. Another person that should go away and stop talking is Joe Biden. Talk about another narcissist. Joe Biden is one of the weirdest people I've ever seen. Have you guys seen this picture? Hold on a second here. Let me see this. So I got to do a story on this. I got to do some research on this Medal of Freedom.
The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the...
Oh, let me just mute that. Joe Biden was one of the recipients of this Medal of Freedom. And the people that get this award from the presidents act so unbelievably strange when they get these awards. As if it's some Medal of Honor that they're getting. Now, when he got this, hold on, just watch this for a second. Stand by. Tears rolling down his eyes, folks. Tears. I don't even know what was being said here. I got to see that again.
R. Biden Jr. for his lifetime of service on behalf of the United States of America.
Tears rolling down his eyes. Now, let's just see who else got that medal, okay? Tom Hanks got that medal. Ellen DeGeneres. Let's see who else. Michael Jordan. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I don't know who Katherine Johnson is, but Diana Ross got this Medal of Freedom. Bill and Melinda Gates. Tom Hanks. Bill Clinton. Let's see who else. I know Robert De Niro got the Medal of Freedom, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, all from Robert Redford, another communist. Bob Dylan. What is this Medal of Freedom that these people are getting? It's just the strangest. Bruce Springsteen, another democratic socialist. And look, if you like the boss, I hate to tell you, he's about as close to a communist as you can get. And somebody says in here they probably all donated to his foundation. Lorne Michaels from Saturday Night Live got the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What? This is just strange to me. And these people are emotional about getting this Medal of Freedom. Let's see Robert De Niro, who I'd like to punch in the face. I don't normally say that type of thing out loud in public, but
Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Actors of his generation, creating or era artists.
Come on, cry. Man, somebody needs to tell the president, you know, before you put stuff on, you got to get that stuff unbound. Anyway, I'm not going to waste any more time on this, but I found it very strange. Joe Biden, man, you just need to go away, dude. Your time has come and gone. You're another one of these fake leaders who've done virtually nothing for the country, and I don't know. This Presidential Medal of Freedom also needs to go away, don't you think? Okay, I'm rambling. Anyway, I love you all, and let's go to the Truth Zone, close this up, and I got to teach another course tomorrow as a guest lecturer at John Jay, and then my head will be back into this probably by Wednesday. If you have not shared this show, make sure you share it. If you didn't retweet it, make sure you retweet it. Like my page on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my page on on YouTube. Donate to the GoFundMe page right here. We're really low on donations. We haven't gotten hardly anything in the past 2 months. So whatever you can give, I always say this, right now there's like 200 people watching. If everybody just dug in and gave $50 right now, we would have enough to sustain this for a couple of months. Good to go. If we got everybody that follows me on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, we'd have like 50,000 people. And if everybody gave $50, we would be this show would take off. I could get another vehicle and just go on the road and stay gone for the rest of the year. Listen, minimal effort, maximum results. That's what it all comes down to. This is your show. And don't forget, I got to plug all this stuff real quick. Don't forget Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival. You can order it on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. If you order it, if you donate $50 to the GoFundMe page, you're going to get a signed copy. We're going to have to get your address and stuff to send those out when it comes time. But support the show by supporting the book as well, and tell everybody about it. You're going to want this book. Trust me. It's going to make a big difference. This book's going to make a big difference in this country. I promise you. Let's go to the Truth Zone. My head will be back into it tomorrow. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. All right. Well, I've done a lot this week already. Taught students, hosted 3 shows, about to finish an op-ed, and I've got to start with my audiobook, which I said I was going to do that this weekend. I'm going to start it tonight. And your donations to the GoFundMe page continue to help me in all aspects of this push forward to get the truth out, to get the op-eds out, to get this show done every night. And what money I get that comes in goes to this process. The money that you send goes to this process. And we can continue to build our foundation and our base. This is going somewhere, folks. Trust me. This is more than just a show, as we talk about every night. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of what you all are saying in the comment sections tonight. I'll go back and look at some of these. I hope you agree with me on what I say about John McCain. and Jane Fonda. If you're a communist and you're watching this show, you need to take a step back and realize the utopia that communism preaches. You already have it here. There will never be a true utopia on earth because sin exists and because mankind is evil by nature. I know people saying, how can you call a baby evil? You need to stop thinking of evil as Freddy Krueger. We have a material self, a self-centered material self that we are born with. We have the life breathed into us by God himself. We have a godly side to us, but ultimately we have an evil, earthly, sinful nature. You can't have victory over it. But that victory and the victory over sin comes with belief in God, belief in the Lord Jesus, and your stance for freedom and the defense and support of the Constitution. If you don't believe that, if you believe communism is a better example, and you're watching this show right now, I challenge you, show us the Constitutional Quick Reaction Force. Show us, where has communism ever flourished? Where has communism ever worked? Show me where globalists, big money globalists, have your best interest at heart. Show me anywhere in history where somebody has described themselves as a democratic socialist and they ultimately did what was best for everyone. It doesn't exist. What you see in politics, what you see in Hollywood, what you see on Wall Street, it's no different than the sandbox or the playground that you played on when you were 5 years old. The same narcissistic, egocentric behavior of 5-year-old children. Yes, I'm saying that. I know, I've been around children. You have to teach it out of them. That same type of ingrained mentality is in these grown-up people, and they are ruling the earth not for your benefit but for theirs, because they want to own the sandbox and they want you to serve it. They want to use your toys. They want to have your soul be their servants. Stand against that, folks. Stand against it. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My good buddy Rico is down there asleep. This is The Experts. Truth has arrived. I'll see you tomorrow. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.